The House of Mystery presents Inside Writing, the radio show where authors discuss their writing process in all genres.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery, and I'm Al Warren, and Mr. Michael Hawley is on the other side of the country.
Yes, that's right, Al.
We've got the one and only Damon Manx from Last Waltz Publishing. Thanks for being here, Damon.
Hey, thanks for having me. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Yeah. And we've got one of your new guys in here. We're going to break in a new guy for you. Just got a new book out. It's called Down by the Riverwalk. I can say that. And the guest, that's Mr. Matt Scott. So thanks for being here, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, so here we go. So, Damon, so when you start with a new an author, do you have a particular thing you look for in a book?
I have a particular thing that I'm not looking for, definitely, which is the same old thing. I'm looking to be surprised. I'm looking for tight prose. I'm looking for a creative idea that I could sit down and read and be entertained by it. You know, I think every author is unique and different, and if I can sit down and enjoy the story myself, then I'm sold. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, in a way, how, let's say, how well they write per se, but it's more about maybe the idea or the story they give you.
Yeah, I think it definitely stems from story and idea. I mean, are there any really truly original ideas out in the world? Maybe they come along every now and then, but I think the way that you tell it and, everybody's personal take on how they present their story is what makes it fresh and exciting. And, the ghost story, we've heard it a million times, but, still you get ghost stories that are like, wow you and knock you off your feet. And that's what Matt has the ability to do. He presents these interesting situational stories that are creepy and mood setting, and the endings always kind of like hit you like, I don't know, like your feeling, your emotions are still resonating after you finish the story.
Huh. Does that ever worry you if you sit down with an author and they've got this really creepy story and they know where you live?
I don't let them know where I live. So. That's the beauty of the internet and working through remote.
Yeah. Well, you can always just give them Mike's address. I'll text it to you later. And,
of course.
No problem, and they can head out there. No, it's really interesting. But you are into this, I don't know if you want to call yourself horror or suspense or how you want to classify yourself, but you're really into kind of a darker story, if I'm right.
Yeah, I guess that's accurate. I'm into the darker stories and something that brings out emotion.
All kinds of emotion, or just like fear and anger?
Well, no, actually, I like fear and I like unsettling, but I also like to tug at the heartstrings. I'm certainly not the goriest writer, not the scariest writer, but I do like to leave the audience feeling some kind of emotion. Even I have stories that the occasional story that has a happy ending, or one that says, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I was crying because you did that to that character, So an emotional response doesn't have to be in the negative sense, preferably not in a negative sense, preferably in a,
yeah. Well, there's Jeff Oliver and all that, like when his stuff, there's kind of a certain beauty in the darkness in a way, right? It's just about making people aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that, because we all have that part of us, you can't have light without dark. So we all have positive emotions. We all have negative emotions. And if you can touch into that and relate it, help other people relate to the way you're feeling, because certainly a lot of my negative emotions are transcended onto the page. And I hope that, gives people a little inside view of what's going on in my head or heart.
Do you add levity too to kind of get that roller coaster of emotions?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of humor, tongue-in-cheek little sentences in between, little metaphors that maybe don't go quite, and not the average metaphor. Something, I think I have one. The road twisted up the mountain like a crooked politician.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I do like levity. Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be a timing to it, right? Or it might not work, especially in a dark story. You have to watch where you put that humor, right? And what place it goes into.
Yeah, no, their timing is everything in probably in all genres of writing, unless of course you're writing the comedy to straight up comedy. But in the horror field or in suspense, yeah, well placed prose, well placed metaphors. Yeah, the comedy can't be overt. Just little flavor like seasoning in the sauce.
Mm. Yeah, making my nipples hard. Okay. Now, so Matt, I have to wonder. This is your first book, I believe, correct?
Yeah, it is. My first collection.
So, what about writing, or what perhaps happened in your life that made you decide that you're going to go ahead and write and get it out there in the world?
Oh, I don't know if there was a moment. Yeah, I was in grade school. I remember like third or fourth grade, and I was copying songs down off the radio on pen and paper, and go into the classroom selling them for a nickel a piece. Song
Entrepreneur too.
And I was always writing stuff down. Saturday morning cartoons. I would watch one and then write the next one. For next week.
I mean that there's a lot of people that'll do that, but to actually sit there as yourself and kind of go, well, I can do this and put it out, people will buy it. I'm going to make do this for a job.
Oh, when I got serious about
it,
honestly, 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago is when I honestly started sending stuff out. Just doing the work, honestly, really, really putting myself into it.
So what about you makes you write these darker stories?
I write about what scares me. And what scares me is not having control. And how you react in situations. Like Bob was saying, there's darkness everywhere. I mean, I get a lot of my ideas from the news. And unfortunately, sometimes it's more local than I want it to be. But yeah, it's how people react in these exaggerated situations that I can come up with that I really like. And yeah, the endings are usually dark because endings usually are.
So do people run out and buy all the toilet paper in your stories?
They don't have by the time we get to my people, the shit
oh my,
it's already hit the fan. It's done. They're just trying to deal.
It's too late to get toilet paper.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it. I know that one. So how do you start your stories? Like, these are short stories, you were saying. So if this like, do you start with some sort of a question? Do you like have a question of something and then you kind of run with it, or do you start with a character?
I usually start with the character, honestly, just somebody that popped into my head, a line that someone said throughout the day, and I can build on it and picture a person around it. and then just make the scene around him or her.
So when you create that character, do you kind of do you picture them in your mind, and does it become like a real person and you start hearing voices?
I try to put them down on paper as much as I can, and then the following day while I'm at work, I'll have some conversations with them, while I'm going about my business.
Do you ever wake up in the morning and find mud on your shoes? And,
no, thank God, not yet.
Maybe a shovel. I'm just asking because this could be interesting. Do you actually want someone to get something out of your story, or is it just entertainment?
The short stories, I would say, are entertainment. I mean, they're kind of apocalyptic, dire. The projects I have in the pipeline, coming up, are a lot more meaning to them, a better message. I guess I'll have more positive spin to them.
Oh, the people actually live then.
Well, the longer it worked, yeah. Yeah.
So you fear about the end of the world sort of thing? Is that kind of a...
No, again, I don't fear the inevitable. I only worry about how other people are going to take it.
So in essence, what would you say your stories are about in this book? How many do you have in the book?
There's 14.
14. And
yeah.
what's kind of your favorite story in it?
I think the lake. I really enjoyed writing it. It's actually one of the longer ones in it. More detail, really kind of more of a developed arc in that one. More fleshed out. That's my favorite one.
And what happens in the basic story? What's the basic premise of that story?
A grandfather is taking his son fishing to his favorite pond. It's wintertime. It's just muddy and dank looking. Anyway, they find a body in the lake, and throughout the waiting on the police to get there, it's out in the country. Throughout the time they wait on that, the grandfather recalls his time in Vietnam and something bad that happened there. And so the story jumps around between the two timelines.
Well, it's an interesting idea. It's so does he eat the kid?
No, not that one anyway.
Oh, there is one like that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, Damon, what are you doing? Wow.
They just kind of find me. I don't know.
I guess so.
It would almost be a comedy of errors, like a worst case scenario kind of thing. If it weren't for a little bit of humor thrown in every once in a while.
With you guys both, I wonder, do you worry about being sort of politically correct, or about upsetting, or what they call triggering an audience? Like, what do you think, Damon? Do you?
That's interesting. So it depends on the story, because at one point, I wanted to really write about a certain issue. I wanted to write about marginalization. And I saw, we spoke about this before, I was in prison and I was watching the majority of people in there really marginalize the guys in there who were homosexual and had different sexual orientations than them. And I found this so, appalling that I wanted to write about it in a horror genre. So, being... I wanted to point light at racism and bigotry and homophobia, and I did it in a story called Abigail, and I think I did it pretty well. If I do say so myself, I'll try to be humble here, but at other times though, I have other books where it takes place in 1979, and the guy is a complete dick. Bigot, and the words that come out of his mouth are not politically correct, but to be true to that time period and to be true to that character that I'm writing, I can't water it down, and I'm not going to be overt, and they're certainly not my feelings, but certain characters behave certain ways, and I think if we water it down or we ban a book today, we're burning it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I think it makes the character not believable, right? You kind of get into that area where you kind of make them not sound very real.
Yeah. You can't do that, or you're nobody. You're going to have a one-dimensional character, and your book's going to fall flat.
Yeah. Well, the Karens will buy it. Karen edition 1. And so Matt, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you just write what you feel and you don't really care what people think, or how do you approach it?
I approach it. Yeah, I let the characters be as real as they can. I mean, if it's something that will come out of their mouth as despicable or racist or horrible as it is, they're going to let it fly. But again, like Rob, it doesn't necessarily like anything about me. It's just real for them, and try to make it as authentic as it is, not just like a middle-aged white guy.
The series of short stories, you're now dealing with tons of characters throughout that. Because so many short stories. Do you enjoy that, having so many characters and just having short stories?
I do. What I've gotten into the last couple of years, writing so many of these, I'm starting to piece together some worlds for them, some spin-offs and tying them together and kind of world building, and I'm getting really excited.
Oh, so then you have spin-offs on like larger novels of just one.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about novels necessarily. Just one character will transition into another story, and I can peel off from all of that from the short story perspective, and I really like it.
You never get writer's block.
No, I was just talking to Rob the other day about it. I jump around so much when I'm actually sitting down writing. Have 2 or 3 different things working, different notes in front of me. If I don't know how good it is, but if I hit a wall somewhere, I'll jump to the next one and write a few pages.
So who's the boss, you or the characters?
Oh, they are. They're annoying. They're relentless, and I love and hate every one of them.
Do you find they talk to you when you drive?
Oh, everywhere. Yeah, it's like I said, I've gone to work. And this is not for any law enforcement out there, but I've gone to work sometimes not even remembering if any of those lights were green.
So,
yeah, pulled into the parking lot. It's like, hey, I think I just got the story, but I hope everybody's okay.
You don't have any weapons, and you say, "Oh, did I shoot them up?" Or you didn't do that.
No, this was all just vehicular.
Yeah, no body in the trunk when you get home.
No.
Wow. Do you have a favorite character?
One that I'm working on right now is becoming my new favorite. It's kind of a cross between Deadpool and Scooby-Doo.
So what is it about a certain character that becomes a favorite? Is it because they have a lot of characteristics that you'd like to have yourself, or maybe that you already have?
I think realism for me, and I don't mean that. I mean, they know who they are. So yeah, that's appealing too. That type of character.
Is there any time you get a character that you end up not liking?
Well, none of them. Well, only a few of them get to go on to other stories. So
you kill them off then.
It's kind of a one-off for a lot of.
Have you ever used a character from someone you know?
Oh, most of them are based off of people I know.
So
in one way or another, yeah.
So who do you use for the bad ones that you want to hurt?
People no longer in the picture.
You're going to give us
give
us some names.
On the safe side.
Give us some names. So let's write this down
not even going.
Oh,
there.
Come on! Like, I've got Facebook open. We can see who they are.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, where do you think the ideas come from for you?
Like I said, I really get a lot of them from current events, things that are happening, and then I'll just exaggerate it and throw some stuff.
It's interesting. Wow. So, Damon, what else have you got coming out with Last Waltz? Now, you're doing something with James G. Carlson, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct. James and I just had our release of Hacked in Two, which is 2 novellas and 1 book. It came out under his publishing company, Gloomhouse Publishing. He has a story in it called Red Falls, which is about a couple that goes, they hear about a wine festival and they take off into the backwoods of Pennsylvania, and when they get there, this is nothing short of Deliverance banjo country, and it just gets weirder and weirder as they go. They meet up with some other, very, very modern, woke people who just happen to be there for this non-existent wine festival. And the mayor is the owner of the bar, and he's also the owner of the hotel, and it gets really weird really quick. James did a really great job on this.
Is that based on a real town, or is that?
James actually based that story on an experience he had going to a wine festival in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know how where the imagination took over, and I'm going to draw the line and say I'm pretty sure I know what isn't real, but I think a lot of it is based on what really happened.
darn it, it sounded like a town for me. Maybe not.
Yeah, so I wrote a story for that called Deacon, which starts out as a zombie apocalyptic story. We come up on 2 brothers who were actually kind of backwoodsy brothers themselves, and they're taking advantage of the people who are left living in this apocalyptic zombie atmosphere. And in steps a guy named Deacon, who is dressed as a deacon with the collar for the Catholic Church. And he carries a spear gun, and he takes out these bad guys in this world in a vigilante-style fashion. And he's the savior of this dystopian world. And after that, we cut to a scene where a beta reader is reading the story that the reader has just read, and he goes to the author and says, Damon, I don't know why you're writing stuff like this. This is totally out of your wheelhouse. You've written piece by piece. You've written Abigail, or did you fall off the wagon? I mean, what's going on with you? So we take it from there, and this is a juxtaposition of 2 stories, the Deacon story unfolding and the Damon Manx story unfolding at the same time, as an author is struggling with a story that brings up his own demons. And at some point, fiction and reality cross over. This story affected me on a major level because a lot of my own demons got put on the paper.
So when you did that, is that kind of primarily more for your own growth, or let's say your own sort of therapy in a way, or working through things, or did you want something from your readers?
You know what? I was going for, I mean, honestly, I don't even know, because I wrote that opening scene with the zombies damn near a year ago. And I didn't know where this story was going to go. I was with an old publishing company. I took the story back. I left them. I opened Last Waltz, and I didn't know, what to do. And then James came to me about the idea of the book. And for me, a story happens when it's the convergence of 2 ideas. One small idea doesn't usually do it. And then I started thinking, well, what if I put myself into this? And I started going with it, and some of it was factual, some of it was, I played with the truth a little bit. And I don't think it ended up being therapeutic for me. Actually, it kind of bothered me a little more than
Yeah.
it did. It gave me like a real mind.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to bring out, like in the reader. Like I wanted them to really think about that line between the fiction of a story and the reality of the story taking place as you're reading it, and the relationship between the author and the reader.
Well, it's kind of appropriate nowadays because nowadays, especially in politics, facts aren't really facts now. Is that how that works? So
Yeah, well, I remember somebody asking me, well, why can't we just have, the news or a politician say the truth? And I made the mistake of saying, well, which version of the truth do you want to hear? And they're like, no, because you're getting it wrong. The truth is the truth, There is no version of the truth. There is truth. And you can go to the left of that truth. You can go to the right of that truth. But truth is truth.
oh yeah.
But I'll be damned if I know what it is.
Yeah. God damn it. Oh, but it has to be therapeutic in a little bit, because even when things bother you or they get in under your skin and you're all really screwed up from it kind of thing, just thinking about it and working through it in a sense, you come out of it, like, because you come out of this book and well, I don't know, maybe there's some bodies in your house, but you come out of this book probably better than you went into it, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? I did bring up some real demons of mine. I brought up my battle with heroin, which 10 years clean in October. I brought up the time I went into prison. I brought up my divorce. And I brought up, the struggle of that an author who chooses sobriety walks on a day-to-day basis. So there's that going on in the page. I had fun with it too, but yeah. So you know what? In the end, I want to say it's good to look at yourself and re-examine the things that have formed you, or deformed you at times. And that happened, so, but, it was a bit of a white knuckle experience as it was going, but now that book is out, like, I feel really good and I'm really proud of what we did. So it was good.
Yeah. So it was worth it. I mean, I always hear that it's kind of almost like, I haven't had that issue of alcohol or drug dependency, but people that I know that have always kind of describe it as it's almost like a demon that stays with you for your whole life, and you've got to keep it at bay. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think as you build up more tools for battling that demon and your resolve gets stronger on a day-to-day, the fight isn't as vigilant as it was in the beginning, but it's a fight that could easily go either way if you were to allow it.
When you do something like that in a story like this, are you one of the characters? Do you put yourself as one of the main characters then?
Well, Damon Manx is actually...
Is it the real...
The main character.
Is it the real Damon?
Oh, wow.
Well, that's actually, the Damon, Deacon, Dylan. There's a lot of guys in this story that, could be the real Damon. That question is answered at the end of the story. More or less, but yeah, Hackton 2 by Gloomhouse Publishing, available at Amazon.com and Godless.com.
How is that going? How's the Godless thing going?
Right now I have 2 short stories that I just put out on Godless, and The Dead Girl is number 2 in new release bestsellers right now, and The Devil's Well is, I think, like number 6 on the bestseller list. And if anybody wants a free story, The Dead Girl is available free right now at godless.com.
Oh,
Well, get on that, Michael. What are you doing?
I'm there.
Yeah.
I will be.
Yeah, it's a nice little short story.
I actually would like that.
Yeah, you go download it. They're all, Godless is in digital format. You go there and you put in your information, and they give you the PDF, the Mobi, and the EPUB version of whichever titles you choose. And it's a real convenient, and it's a real happening site. I think they're doing a great thing for the indie community, and they'll be growing. I think next year. I can't even imagine how much bigger they're going to get, but they're just going to continue to grow and expand their repertoire of authors and publishing companies that they work with.
Great.
Do you have to be Satanist to join, or?
No, absolutely not. No, there's.
There you go.
It helps.
Oh,
It
that's,
helps.
no, are you still getting any sort of backlash with that sort of thing, or do you hear any sort of, is that dying down?
That was like a
One hit wonder.
time, one hit wonder kind of thing, and people, are just, until you're, how do I say it? There's topics that we are all ignorant about and that we don't know until we investigate and find out. So, somebody might have said something prior to investigation, and that got me a little, raised my hackles, but, yeah, it was nothing. And, just because something is named godless, it has nothing to do in a religious connotation.
Well, it should be. All hate mail.
Well, it's more so like taking, power away from giant entities such as Amazon. So now, indie authors are selling their material on their own through a different platform without Ma Bell or Amazon.com taking the vast majority of their royalties.
Right.
Yeah. So, so we are godless.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing, in a sense. I think that, I think it's a positive thing, at the end of the day. It's hard to make a living at writing anyway, so I think that, the more you can get out of it, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what else is on the burner for you, or is that kind of it right now, or you got some more things in the cooker?
Yeah. And at the risk of, I'm not going to vague book, but, I can talk about this, but I can't really talk about this. Okay.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah. And I'm not that tough guy. So I have a spot in an upcoming anthology. I can't tell you the anthology, but it's going to be, it's a really, there's some really good big names in this anthology, and I'm really honored to be a part of it. And we should be looking closer to a reveal on this towards September, October sometime. And I am currently working with an agent out of New York City on a proposal for a nonfiction book about my addiction, my time in prison, and the man I met while I was there who helped me turn my life around. And I'm feeling really good about this, but I'm finding out like what goes into a nonfiction book proposal. And I've literally been working on this for 6 months, and I hear that's nothing. I hear it could take another year and a half before we get something.
Yeah.
But that's, that's a real positive thing. And the guy I'm working with he represents some very big names. And
so that could be you could transition from fiction to nonfiction, and there was receptivity there then.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think writing is writing. I think nonfiction is a little harder to write than fiction.
Hear that, Al? We're great.
Well,
yeah.
Well, it's just, you have a lot more
I
hurdles,
definitely do. Yeah. And your prose has to be tight, and your storytelling has to be spot on and no diversions. You've got to keep the the reader there, So, hats off to you guys for being able to do that, because I'm just learning how, I'm trying to become a better writer every day.
Well, you'll get there. You just keep working at it, and then each time you do it, it gets easier.
Yeah. So, my first attempt at this the proposal alone. So 30 pages of a nonfiction proposal that's supposed to go to, 5 different publishing companies. And it was the hardest 30 pages I've ever had to write in my life.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I just end up sleeping my way to the top. That's how I get it done. You just get around there, and there's always a few people you can bang, and then at the end of it, you're done. And then then it's easy after that. Take it from me.
I may have missed.
Been there, done that. And
yeah,
I will sell myself in a second. That's no problem. So Matt, what's your next plan? Where are you going now after this? And has Damon got some plans for you? Has he got you, out there doing something, or what's going on for you?
Well, thanks to Damon. Right now, I've got Down by the Riverwalk, Amazon and Godless, and nothing coming out just yet, but working on 3 or 4 really big projects that I'm excited about.
Wow. So are you going to stick to this this type of fiction writing and kind of horror and that scary sort of stuff, or are you planning on going somewhere else?
Well, the longer ones I'm finding are steering away from true horror, I think, honestly. They're scary and they're gross, but I wouldn't call them horror, the ones I'm working on.
Huh. So you're kind of getting to know the characters better then. You're putting that out.
I am, yeah. And as I said, the ones that I'm building on, and they're showing up in different projects, they're really being fleshed out, and maybe can carry stories of their own. We'll see what they tell me.
Wow. That's interesting. So what are you going to, so you guys still have to work a regular job there, Matt, or?
I do.
Yeah. Street corner? What?
No.
Selling
no,
drugs?
I got pushed out of that by a guy with a cart.
Oh. Well, kill him off in the next book. That's what I do. Anyway. Well, you guys are a pleasure, and it's a thrill that you came on, and everyone, we got a couple of books. We got lots to do for you here. You got to go to Godless and pick up some books. You've got Matt Scott, you've got Damon Manx, and you got James G. Carlson on that one too. So Down by the Riverwalk is Matt Scott's book, and Hackton 2 is Mr. Manx's book. So these guys, they need some help, especially Matt. He's out there selling, and even the man with the cart pushed him out of there. Jesus,
that's right.
He needs food. He needs get out there, buy a book. Anyway, well, guys, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Tired of wasting time trying to decide what to watch on your streaming service? Go to our website and look for the Martino movie reviews.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or shows, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Yeah. Good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.